Let's see how we link to an external style sheet. This is the most common way to use CSS, and this is how you're going to be using CSS for most applications, and in fact for most of the rest of this course. So this is how you link to an external style sheet. Here we have a plain HTML file, and it's got no style information in it whatsoever. And this is what it looks like in the browser. There it is. And you see that it's very plain, and it doesn't have any style or any formatting. So we'll go ahead and insert a link to an external style sheet. And we do this with the link tag. The link tag has several attributes. The first one is rel, which is for the relationship. That's the relationship that this external document has to the HTML file. And so in this case, the relationship is style sheet. So we'll type style sheet in. And now we want the type. And here, this gets what's called a MIME type. And in a nutshell, that just means this is the type of file that it is. So the type of file that's being used as a style sheet is a CSS file. And the MIME type for that is text/CSS, like this. And finally, you're going to get an href. Href is the URL location of the file that's being linked in. Just like for an anchor link, you would use href. And so here we're just going to say main.css, but that can be a complete URL. In fact, you could even put your CSS files on a separate domain, which sometimes actually happens for some very large websites. Now, because this link tag doesn't have any contents, it's not a container, it gets the shortcut end here so that you don't have to say /link separately like this. That would also be correct, but most of the time we're just going to do it like this. So now we have the style sheet attached, and you'll notice if I save this, some of the style will become applied. And we'll go ahead and look at this in the browser, and we'll reload here. And you'll see that some of the style has been applied. The background color went a little bit darker. We have the font stuff here. Let's take a look at the style sheet, and we'll see that we got this body style got applied, but this div content did not get applied. And here these tags got applied, but this part here did not get applied because we haven't actually put that div in the document. So what this does is this creates a content box that's 75% of the width of the document. All these details will be explained in other parts of the course. But here we have this content box, we have the border, we have a slightly lighter background color, things like that. And so let's go ahead and make this happen. And we do that by adding that div into the HTML document. And so here we'll say div ID equals content. And we'll go down to the end of the document. And we'll put in the closing div right there. So this closing div goes before the closing body and after that last paragraph. And the opening div, of course, goes after the beginning of the body and before that first heading. So we'll save this and go back to the browser and hit reload. And now that div exists. And so the content of the document, everything within that div is getting put in this little content box. It's centered on the page. It's got a slightly lighter background color. And all the text is flowed inside of it just like you would expect it to. When we look at the CSS, we see here's that div content box that contains all of the paragraphs and headings. And it's got this width of 75%, the margin that centers it, 10 pixels of padding on the inside of the border, a lighter background color, and a definition of the 1 pixel solid gray border. And so we see all of those features here. There's the little bit of padding. There's the border itself, the lighter color. So that happens because of that div. So there you have it. That is, in a nutshell, how you link an external style sheet to an existing HTML page.